to it in a payroll job, what do you pay taxes on? You get 15% right off the bat. It's called FICA, payroll tax, and then you get an additional income tax. So you get double tax right off the bat, and you can't really control too much of that because you can't do things as an employee that you can do as a business. 82 of the largest U.S. corporations paid absolutely no federal income tax in 2001 to 2003, and actually a report just came out that that number is even going up further. And these are big corporations too, like Walt Disney Company, AT&T, Time Warner. It's not exactly your small operation. And what these corporations have done, and if you structure your business in such a way, what you will be able to do is reduce your taxable income by using something called a triple net lease. If you're into real estate, purchasing a property, then selling it, and then purchasing another property. And again, you could do this all under a eco mentality of an eco restoration and so forth. But there's something called a 1031 Starker exchange. This is how very, very wealthy people, including most of the people in Washington, D.C., have been able to make their money, is they've been able to keep turning things over and avoid paying any capital gains tax through this little trick that they put in there. There's also depreciation and amortization, and there's all these tricks, and we don't have the time here to talk about them, but we'll have a table later on today, and we're happy to continue to talk today and tomorrow if you're coming into some more of the details of how we do that, and we do cover that a bit in our book. There's also a trend of subcontracting. So let's say you're a graphic designer. You can be an employee of a company and get paid something and have all this stuff deducted, or you could be a subcontractor doing exactly the same thing, but then this time you're getting paid by the job and you get all of that money, and then you can decide what you want to do with that money rather than someone else deciding for you what to do with that money. It's a different way of structuring things. And ultimately what we do is our profits support, just like we talked about, our Earth mission. So when we have a good year, we take that money and invest in an all-electric city car. Yes, we don't own that. JDI Enterprises, our business, owns that car, which we then can depreciate at $700 a year. So we can make $700 of revenue to the business that gets offset by this phantom expense as a part of our business. It's all these things, and this is all we're trying to do is just tap that into that and doing it in the context of your business to be able to make it work better. So it's just kind of a real quick example. $35,000 of employee of Killer Corporation transforming human and natural capital into wealth for just a few shareholders. All right? This is a rough approximation, but maybe you'll come out with maybe $19,750 at the end of the year. Now, if you take that same $35,000 and figure out how to do it in the context of business revenues, and really focusing on this restoration economy and thinking about how you're interacting with things, you're earning revenues for the owners, but you can do things that we talked about just briefly, to where you're going to end up with $33,000 at the end of the year. That is how a 41-year-old has managed with his wife and his son to pay off the farm in less than a decade and a few years. Because we figured out how to work the numbers so that we have a little bit more money ourselves to do things that we really want to do that mean a lot to us and that restores nature and gets us involved in a different way in our community. So on that $35,000 income, you live to work and earn a living. And for most folks who are doing this, it's hard to keep up. You can't. Because, I just heard natural gas is going to go up 30%. I don't know about anyone around here, but most folks who have payroll are not seeing a 30% bonus coming to them anytime soon. And if you happen to carry a mortgage, you're paying bank one. You own a car on a loan, you're paying bank two, and if you happen to have too many credit cards, you're paying bank three. So now all you're doing is you're working to pay all these people. And the result is we have a national savings rate. Anyone know when the last time that happened? During the Great Depression. Now we're living in the Great Depression financially, and yet most of us don't even talk about it from that standpoint yet, because but George says that there's no recession. What are you guys talking about? So the reality is we're hearing these stories, but they're being woven to support the people who are in control of this. If you run your own business, you can make a life and have a good life. You can live richly, but we're not income-wise very wealthy, and we take those revenues to make the world a better place. And it's a shift in how we do things. We have invested in renewable energy systems and taken advantage of tax credits and depreciation. We've looked at sustainable transport and done sort of the same thing. So it's using the business as that catalyst to make those changes.
And that's a big idea. If anybody, your head's kind of buzzing, believe me, it took us years, and it's what prompted us to write the ECOpreneuring book, to flesh that out a bit more, because I was raised in very much a traditional immigrant household where dad worked for the state for 40 years and got paychecks and that's just what you do, but is it working? And can we rethink that? And that's what the goal of all of this is about. So a couple more ideas that we've been talking about already.
Nothing we're doing is illegal.
Oh, I forgot.
In fact, we even report, if we get like a $5 tip from B&B guests, we actually stick that on the deposit form. $5 tip from B&B. We report it. Nothing is illegal here. This is just how these structures are set up. And again, in business school, they didn't teach me this. They just told me what kind of power suit to wear. It's just a different mode.
All right, so keeping it local, we've been talking about the localized economy and this has a lot to do with obviously fossil fuel issues, but more importantly community building, joining that small mart revolution. Anytime we need anything, we check out all of our local sources first. In many cases, most cases, they turn out either more economical, but definitely much higher value when it comes to building community. Buying local, selling local, doing business with the neighbors, keeping more money circulating in the community, and sometimes these things go into those other economies that John was talking about of bartering and reusing and all of that. Rethinking retirement. This is probably one of the biggest questions we get asked from B&B guests around the campfires. Well, what are you guys going to do when you retire? And I finally figured I had to come up with an answer to that. So it's like, all right, we're going to join a CSA. All right, we're going to plow under the 2 acres and garden. I'm just going to kick back and let the young kids do it. Because the point of it is we love what we do. I don't see retirement as this end goal. And I'm sure we all have, if not, people in our family, I know our own family, where they work and work to get to what they want to do. And when they get there, they're too old or too tired or too crabby, as in my family's case, but that's another Estonian story. You can't do it. And we didn't want to be in that situation, and we didn't want to project that image to our son. So how can you rethink these things? Well, I'm arguing probably most people here don't really see their retirement as floating around on a boat. How can you plan creatively for your senior years? This has to do with all sorts of ways of managing your money, both green but strategically. And there's things, like the reverse mortgages, these rental incomes. A whole lot more reliable as a form of investment than some of, the IRA dealings, IRS. What are those things called? IRAs. Excuse me. See, I've been out of that. John manages the money around us. Is Social Security really secure? We could debate this one around the campfire as well, but I think we'd all net out that the answer, unfortunately for a lot of people, is no. People who are relying on that, how can you take charge of this? And again, who wants to be the richest person in the cemetery? The other question we get asked a lot after the retirement one is, well, what about health care? Okay. Complex question, multi-leveled answer. But the bottom line is, the better you feel about your life, big surprise, the better health you're in. Controlling your schedule, prioritizing fitness, getting to the gym in our case, eating better, growing our own food, all add up to a better quality of life. Now that said, okay, still the logistics of healthcare in the structure we live. Personally, we've done a variety of things. We've had no health insurance. We've done self-employed plans. We've done independent contract work for different companies, different businesses that paid our health insurance. Right now, because our income, again, we're keeping it low, we can tap into our state-sponsored health care program, which in Wisconsin is called Badger Care. Qualifies if you have kids. It's under the Medicare umbrella. But this is income-based. Right now, we're getting better insurance coverage for working families, as it's defined, than we ever did working at the corporation. There's options, is the bottom line. And again, we've probably all seen it too much. I know we have in our circle of peers, of people who are working, doing things they hate because they need to have the health insurance because someday they might get sick. It's a bizarre equation that we've come to live under. Importantly, too, for us under that issue of health care and home care is family integration and integrating your home, your life, your livelihood, what you do with your family. That's a very important part of our own philosophy. I mean, when our son Liam, it's not, he does these kind of things. He passes out the sheets, he helps, he brings the muffins to the table, and then he goes to play Legos. Because he's 6. That's part of the job of being 6, but how can we do that? Failing fast and intelligently, again, something they don't teach you in business school and college, but that idea to get out some ideas and try them. Keep them small. If you've got 4 ideas that are burning in the back of your mind, try them all on a small basis. And don't, necessarily take the next 4 years to figure out which is the big idea. Innovate or die, learn by experiment. We've got the societal perception that failure is bad, and it is not, especially in these situations like we're talking about with an ecopreneurship where we're in an evolving economy. Knowledge and information society, there's a lot of things going on tangibly now that you can do from anywhere by sharing your knowledge. I mean, we do it somehow through the written word in books, or you could do it in different ways through website designs or communication portals or blogs. This innovation economy, clean tech, green tech breakthroughs, durable economy where there is no waste, service economy where there are no products. The rules are changing, bottom line. And you know, some of these traditional business books you read, the bed and breakfast books, go look at one at Borders and flip to like startup. And I think the going estimate by the Bed and Breakfast Association is $15,000 per room. I think if you take out 3 decimal points and you go like $5.99, that's what we started each of our rooms on. We started our bed and breakfast. The only thing new we purchased were mattresses. Everything else was reused, recycled, sitting in someone's closet. A little elbow grease, a little refinishing. You don't need a lot to start something.
Yeah, sometimes it works out. You know, this wabi-sabi thing is now hot. You know, where you kind of piece things together and make it look kind of funky, and so we're the funky bed.
Yeah, we've always been the distressed look before it was hip. But, you know, it's all right. It's part of our philosophy, and hopefully we'll be able to share it with you guys sometime in person. Traveling and garnering experiences, this is a big part of our own personal philosophy, is we got to get out there and see new things, see how other people do it. Ecotourism, the green economy, more than just sitting on a beach. It's interesting, when we were in a job situation, that's what we were dreaming of, is those times we could sit on the beach and do nothing. Now it's a different equation of how can we get somewhere, how can we come here for the weekend, which is part of our business, but you know, the B&B is closed at home, but we're coming away with tons of ideas, meeting folks like yourselves and sharing the ideas, restoring, preserving, enhancing community, and importantly, working travel into the business. I mean, you know, every time we go anywhere just about related to the business, we write down the miles in our car. Liam reminds us, did you write down the miles? All of a sudden, if you're doing something from a green perspective, you're driving a more fuel-efficient car. Well, what did you say the going standard was?
It is now 58.5 cents per mile to use your personal car for business purposes. We drive a Volkswagen TDI diesel Jetta. You drive a Prius. You are now probably making about 24 cents a mile profit, although you don't call it that because you're just reimbursing yourself for the use of your personal car for your business.
But
the point is, it's these escalating realities of what it is, because 50% of all the vehicles, something thereabouts, are vans, SUVs, and pickup trucks, or larger sport utility kind of things. So the rates are what they are, and if you're smarter, you can use the system to your advantage, and then, so Lisa and John reimburse ourselves about $2,000 to $3,000, maybe even $4,000 a year for business use of our car, for business. Now, we have to do it where we have legitimate business we're doing. I mean, this is not, again, about cooking the books. That will lead to Enron. The point is, we're trying to use those things that we have to serve our Earth mission, and then that $3,000 to $4,000 is money that flows back through, and then Lisa and I can pay down our mortgage with that money. See, it's just rethinking things in a different sort of way.
And importantly, defining the good life on your terms. We've shared a little bit of our own personal values and philosophies, but this is very important for you to define on your own. You know, where are you? Place-based. What defines your quality of life? What defines true health for you and well-being? But in a nutshell, I think we're all talking that these things cannot be achieved by a fat bank account. They're not based on money. They're based on things beyond that. And to get that dialogue going and to start talking about a currency that's based on satisfaction, on meaning, on friendship, on meaningful work, on being able to work with your spouse on a daily basis. Maybe you guys work with your spouse? No? We joke about it. You know, it's one of these situations where, like, sexual harassment is not only not illegal, it's like our employee motivation plan on the farm. But, you know, it works for us. We didn't have this master plan when we met out of college that this is what it was going to be. But when you're like that, when you're so integrated on a daily basis with the people that you love, it works. And it connects you in ways you never thought about before, and in some ways you really don't want to think about again. But it works for us, and that's a big part of our story. And if it's things you would like to see in your own life down the line, again, as John mentioned, we're hanging out. We got in the exhibit booth there, and we'll be around tomorrow too. We're happy to talk more about this, or ask Liam for his opinion. That'd be even more interesting. Some resources to wrap up with. Ecosector.com. This is off of the ECOpreneuring.biz website. It's a partnership we've set up for you to share your story. Go on tomorrow night and put something on there. Just your idea, your dream, what you are. This idea is to create connections with other people, other resources. CoopAmerica.org, is the Green Business Network, probably the oldest and biggest now, Green Pages. Flip through that, see what people are doing around the country, ask questions amongst people in other areas. The Midwest Renewable Energy Association, based in Rockin, Wisconsin, has a number of educational resources from the renewable energy standpoint. And if you like this fair, we want to personally invite you to come to the MREA Fair next June in Stevens Point in Wisconsin, largest in the world, 20,000 people. Greenoptions.com, that's a green portal that both John and I do blogging for, but it's a very practical resource for going green. They've got 50